right. Sure. Welterweight fight that went down at a catch weight of 175 pounds. Another fucking barn burner of a fight. Yeah. Shavkat Rakhmonov defeated Jeff Neal by submission via bartender choke at 4 minutes and 17 seconds of round number 3. I think great. I stole that from somebody on Twitter.
That's very great.
After you sent us that image, Mark, I've been calling it the Jody.
Did I? I didn't even send you guys that. You sent that, I think. Yeah, no. I had already seen it, but yeah, you sent it.
What's the Jody?
Was it me?
I think it was you, yeah, that sent it.
What's the Jody?
It's from the movie.
Why am I blanking on the name of the movie right now?
Right, Baby Boy.
Baby Boy.
Movie,
yes.
Baby Boy.
I haven't seen
when Ving Rhames chokes out this fucking guy from Fast and the Furious, Tyrese.
Oh, Tyrese.
And he literally chokes him out the same way. He just gets behind him.
You didn't see it when we texted it?
Yes, I remember now.
Oh, yeah, Jeff Neal posted it, and he was like, damn, this motherfucker did me like Jody.
Oh, that's right. It was Jeff Neal that posted it. That's
Anyhow,
right.
Getting back on track. Mark, start us off here with your take of this fight. And Jeff Neal certainly holding his own and giving Shavkat Rakhmonov probably definitely the hardest fight of his undefeated career.
100%. One of my main thoughts coming into this fight was I have not seen Shavkat Rakhmonov have to sweat or really try that hard. And I was like, will this be the one where we see it? And we did see it. So props to Neal on that alone. But I loved every second of this fight. This was fight of the night for me. And Shavkat Rakhmonov is so good. But at the same time, Jeff Neal would not even think about going away in that fight. Every time I wanted to think like, all right, this is kind of starting to look easier for Shavkat. He's kind of figured this out here. Jeff Neal would just land something flush and remind him that he was still there. And he ended up eating some serious damage as that fight went on, especially in round 3. He really made Shavkat earn it because he was not going away easy. And Shavkat did. He did earn it. That's how good this guy is. He is so calm in striking exchanges. Honestly, maybe too calm. He probably gets hit more than he should be getting hit, if we're being honest. His chin is a little out there. His hands are a little down. It seems like he could be a little smarter defensively, and maybe he will be now because he wasn't really getting touched, and now he was in there with someone who's top level, and now he's seen how he can get touched. So we'll see how he changes that. But just the way he was mixing his levels with his shots, ripping to the body, changing up his timing, changing up his combo count. He had Jeff Neal guessing so often, which is why Jeff Neal was getting hit clean so often. And he was just punishing him in there. And to Neal's credit, Shavkat couldn't take him down either, which was an interesting wrinkle. We know that Jeff Neal has great takedown D, but I did expect Shavkat to get that thing to the mat at some point, and he couldn't. So that's maybe a question raised if you're looking for something about Shavkat's game that maybe is not as dominant as we imagined. But either way, Shavkat looks at him at the end of round 3 and says, all right, I can't take you down. You won't fall down. So I just fucking big man you with a rear naked choke on the feet. And he still gets himself a finish. He was this close to finally having a fight where he didn't get a finish. He had 16 fights, 16 finishes. Yep. And he's like, no. I'll find a way. And just chokes the man out on the feet. So, yeah. Pretty damn impressive from Shavkat.
Omar, give us your take on this finish and how it played out and then on the fight overall.
The first 2 rounds were elite mixed martial arts. The third round was just a backyard fight. At that point, they had been rocked so many times that both of them, they were both pretty damn tired. And there were moments of that third round that got real sloppy. Even the last exchange that allowed Shavkat to kind of get his back like that. Like a lot of that had to do with just these guys just being gassed. And credit to Rakhmonov for being able to pull off a choke as much as they had both worked at that point. He still had enough gas in the tank to be able to actually complete that choke. It was good, man. Jeff Neal didn't want to tap, man. He was out. He was out cold. Yeah. It was a bad, and people have been relating it to the time that John Jones choked out Lyoto Machida and just kind of dropped him and walked away. It's very similar. It was a bad move, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, to me, this fight, it came down to the attributes and why size matters. Height matters in most cases. There are the outliers like the Mike Tysons of the world, the Daniel Cormiers of the world, who are on the shorter side and still, creates a recipe that makes him quite dominant. But in many cases, height matters in fighting. Because if, I think Jeff Neal's listed at 5'11 or 5'10, and Rakhmonov is like 6'1", 6'2".
I'll tell you
If they
what,
were
though,
this-
man.
What's that?
Jeff Neal did not have any problems finding Hamzat or Rakhmonov's chin at all. A lot of times that height and
He's a
stuff
good
like that
reach
will,
and fast
it'll-
hands.
yeah, it'll play into
I would
the
say
ability
fast
to
hands,
land
that
those
would-
shots. But man, he was finding it all fight, all
But
fight.
I'm just saying that in this position that they just kind of wound up in, I think if they're the same exact height, that choke isn't there.
Oh yeah, the choke is not
It's
there.
just not
100%
there.
agree.
Rakhmonov's
Sure.
just able to just put his arm around his neck as though he's giving him a noogie and squeezes and chokes him out like he's his big brother.
Instead.
I agree.
Anyhow, what is next for Shavkat Rakhmonov? Moves on, gets a finish over Jeff Neal. Omar, let me start with you. Taking a look at the welterweight rankings, if you were the matchmaker of the UFC, what would you do next with Rakhmonov?
Probably like the fifth guy we've tried to throw at this kid, but it's got to be Shavkat and Colby Covington. That's the fight. That's the fight to make, and that's the fight that needs to happen. So get to work.
Yeah. Mark, any other names?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of deal every time we get to the top of this division. It's that there's a few guys sitting there. Colby Covington, we don't know what he's doing. Khamzat Chimaev, we don't know what he's doing. Is he going to fight a middleweight instead of a welterweight? And then Bilal, who's kind of like, someone give me a fight. Maybe it ends up being Shavkat. I don't know. I guess if Usman ever lost to Leon, he could even be in play in this mix here because he's going to need to try to bounce back against someone. So, I don't know what the most realistic answer is. I could see it just ending up being Bilal if Chimaev and Colby keep being in the wind. But yeah, Shavkat and Colby would be pretty cool.
Wow.
So a take from Chael Sonnen about Colby was that Colby's not fighting unless he gets number one contendership, and that the UFC's not trying to give him number one contendership, especially if Usman ends up winning that fight. They're not trying to do Usman Colby 3.
Do you feel like...
See, that's stupid to me. Sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
If he took the Chimaev fight, Colby, when they were trying to make it, and he beat Chimaev, he would absolutely fight for a title and no one would blink a fucking eye.
Correct.
So how does that... Why
Because
would you not do that?
So, and that's kind of why Colby's having an issue right now, because obviously if Chimaev won that fight, Chimaev would get a title shot right off of beating Colby. No question.
But
Right?
Colby would get it off beating him too, is what I'm saying. Why would he not?
Yeah,
Because they don't want to give it to him, which is why they
Well,
don't
that's
want
what
him.
I'm saying.
They don't want
Why?
to. They don't want to promise him a number one contender spot because it sounds like they don't want to do Usman versus Colby. Like if it's Leon, that's fine, but they don't want to do Usman Colby 2-3 because Colby's already gotten beat twice.
I know, but what I'm saying is if he beat Chimaev and the UFC said, okay, he just beat Chimaev, he's getting another title shot, no one would say a word about it if he just beat Khamzat Chimaev. So what is the negative? I don't...
Maybe that's just what they're going with, I guess. That's
don't
the
know.
narrative they're running with.
Are you saying that is it that they don't want to end up with Colby Usman? Or,
That's
is it
the
like
way it
this narrative
seems.
that like the UFC doesn't like Colby and doesn't want him to...
No,
holding
they
him
don't
back.
want to end up with like they don't want to put something on paper where they're obligated to run Colby versus Usman 3. So they don't want to put it in the contract, that this is a number one contender spot and that you will be getting the next title shot of the winner of Usman Edwards.
So I wonder if we see Leon win this fight coming up, if you
Do
see
we see
Colby
it
get
then?
booked right after that.
Exactly. That was what my thought was.
Or they should just wait.
Because at this point, it's what? A week, 2 weeks?
If we assume, because I feel like I keep hearing Chimaev more and more get linked to middleweight. If we assume he's going to fight at middleweight, would you rather see Colby fight Bilal or Shavkat?
At this point, I'd rather see him fight Shavkat.
Colby, why?
I think Bilal deserves it more personally.
Then
I don't disagree with you. I would rather see the Rakhmonov fight, though. against Colby. I don't disagree with you. I think Bilal has gotten shafted a couple times now at this point. But I just think the fight for me, especially with having seen this most recent fight and sort of the vulnerabilities that he's shown that he's never shown before, now I just want to see these cardio machines go at it and see who ends up winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shavkat's interesting because, like I kind of said this when I was going through the fight. I didn't think he would never be able to get Jeff Neal down. And you think about it, it's like, if that was Chimaev, do we think Chimaev couldn't have got Jeff Neal down? Like, is Jeff Neal's takedown D that good, or do you think Chimaev doesn't have much of an issue with it? Because if that's the case, maybe Shavkat is not quite the wrestler we had been thinking he was. But, like, I don't know. It's just one fight, so I don't want to make an assumption off one fight. But it's interesting what, even though Jeff Neal kind of got whooped, he kind of opened up some questions.
I mean, listen, Jeff Neal fought, bro. You can't say that about all his fights. But he
sure.
he threw hands in that fight. So I give him credit for sure.
I agree. Totally agree.
Any names, Mark, staying with you of what you would do next with Jeff Neal?
So I'm struggling, to be honest. I feel like I'm not coming up with a name that I feel like is like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Do that. I almost wanted to say to Omar go first to hear what he had to say. Because I don't feel like there's any perfect name. Like I said maybe the Burns Jorge loser, but like Jorge's not going to fight Jeff Neal if he's the loser of that fight. Maybe Burns probably would, but like I don't know. Other than that, I don't really know what makes sense. The winner of Chiesa and the Leech maybe. I don't. There's not like a perfect answer.
That was kind of my thought, actually, was the winner of Chiesa versus Li Jingliang.
Yeah.